Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. I want you to completely transport yourself back to 1963. Picture this. You just pulled your car off a pitch-black American highway, walked into this glowing, neon-lit gas station diner, and grabbed a seat at a super worn-out four-stool counter. You can instantly smell that sharp, bitter black coffee brewing, right? You hear the rhythmic sizzle coming off a perfectly seasoned flat-top grill. Well, you're about to be served an incredibly cheap, strictly scratch-made meal that modern corporate menus have completely forgotten about. We're talking about an entire era of cooking that relied purely on human instinct.
So here is our roadmap for today. We're covering 1. The golden age of diners. 2. The chemistry of comfort food. 3. Economics of the lunch counter. 4. Regional roadside signatures. 5. The undisputed number 1. And finally, 6. Why the menu vanished. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The golden age of diners. So we're kicking things off by looking at this incredibly pure, unpretentious era of the 1960s lunch counter. This was this unique, almost magical window in time where your grandfather could sit at a roadside diner, order something like creamed chipped beef, good old SOS, or a steaming hot roast beef sandwich, and literally clean the plate every single time without a shred of irony. The food was just hearty, it was real, and it was entirely unpretentious. Now, I absolutely love this phrase because it hits the nail on the head regarding the women who actually ran these diners. They weren't standing back in the kitchen messing around with precision measuring spoons, digital scales, or digital timers. No way. They had prepared these hot plates hundreds, probably thousands of times. It was pure, intuitive culinary skill that was honed over decades of feeding hungry travelers. They learned to cook by the literal sound of the sizzle and the smell of browning butter. Their hands just knew exactly what to do, way before modern mechanized fast food turned cooking into a sterile assembly line. Section 2. The chemistry of comfort food. Let's pivot slightly and look at how all that amazing intuition builds into the literal chemistry that made 60-cent roadside food taste unbelievably rich. Because, whether they knew the strict laboratory terminology or not, these everyday cooks were absolute master chemists operating at the absolute peak of their craft. Take the Maillard reaction, for example. This exact scientific reaction was the hidden secret behind that perfect, sweet and savory ketchup crust on a classic diner meatloaf. In simple everyday terms, this is just the science of perfectly browning your food. When those amino acids and sugars hit the extreme heat of the flat top, they created absolute magic. It's the exact same science that created the dark, flavor-sealing crust of a 55-cent liver and onions plate. It locked all that internal moisture right inside the protein, so every single bite was super tender. And then there's collagen gelatinization. This brilliantly illustrates why a gas station beef Manhattan or a really hearty chuck beef stew tasted so impossibly rich. The long, low braise literally dissolved the meat's structural proteins, naturally thickening the gravy from the inside out. There were absolutely no shortcuts here, no artificial thickeners squeezed out of a bag, just time, temperature, and biology working perfectly together. Long before modern food scientists were designing complex stabilizers in sterile laboratories, basic biology and a low simmer were doing all the heavy lifting. Section 3. Economics of the lunch counter. So here's the absolute crucial question. How in the world did these diners afford to serve such complex, scratch-made meals for literal pocket change? Well, the answer boils down to ruthless, beautiful efficiency. To really wrap your head around the era, you have to look at this staggering number from a 1973 USDA survey. Back then, the average American family of 4 spent 17.8% of their entire income on food. Seriously, think about that for a second, especially when you compare it to how we spend today. Because household budgets were that incredibly tight, absolute zero-waste efficiency was a strict, non-negotiable requirement. For both the home kitchen and the roadside diner to stay afloat, absolutely nothing could be thrown in the trash. This sequence perfectly breaks down that roadside economics in action. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance. You roast the bird Monday evening, you serve the hot specials all day Tuesday, and then you boil those leftover bones for soup on Wednesday. These cooks were pioneering the zero-waste lifestyle decades before it ever became a trendy internet hashtag. Nothing from that bird was wasted, and that is exactly why a hot turkey sandwich with scratch-made cornbread stuffing cost only 60 cents in 1964. They squeezed value out of every single penny.
And guess what? That zero-waste efficiency produced unmatched flavor. Modern canned gravy just completely fails to replicate the deep, complex smokiness of the pan drippings that every single 1960s diner used. The scratch gravy literally contained aromatic compounds like guaiacol and syringol. Now I know those sound like intimidating scientific terms, but really, that's just the scientific way of saying these cooks successfully harness the deep, rich flavor of wood smoke directly from the roasted skin. Modern food service, which relies almost entirely on starch and salt, just hasn't been able to fake that at scale.
Section 4. Regional roadside signatures. Let's shift our focus over to geography for a minute, because in the 1960s, the specific highway exit you took strictly dictated the culinary science that ended up on your plate. These weren't just random regional quirks.
Every single ingredient had a highly specific job to do down south. Stuckey's roadside chili used absolutely no beans. Why? So the sauce clung incredibly tight to the hot dog, while cumin provided this really warm, earthy base. In the fried catfish plate, the acetic acid, which, by the way, is really just the sharp vinegar in the southern coleslaw, served a precise chemical purpose. It cut right through the heavy, rich fat of that lard-fried fish. And out west, the chuck wagon steak utilized a specific hornstick pan to maximize the surface area, giving you way more of that beautiful Maillard-crushed ratio with every single bite.
Section 5. The undisputed number 1. Okay, the moment we've been waiting for. We have arrived at the absolute crown jewel of the 1960s roadside menu. The reigning champion of the counter. The one dish that separated the total amateurs from the absolute legends. Chicken fried steak, smothered in cream gravy. This 70-cent hot plate was the ultimate, uncompromising test of a roadside cook's intuition and skill. Now, why was it the ultimate test? Well, because when you are cooking with incredibly cheap, notoriously tough cuts of beef, you have nowhere to hide. You can't just fall back on the natural tenderness of a fancy ribeye. Transforming a tough, chewy piece of cube steak into a melt-in-your-mouth masterpiece required unparalleled, flawless technique. If the cook got this wrong, the diners simply didn't survive. Word would travel fast.
Following this exact, totally unforgiving sequence produced absolute culinary magic. Dry dredge, egg wash, second dredge, fry. It was this rapid, rhythmic dance over hot cast iron lard. This technique produced a crust of such a specific, deep amber shade that truly experienced cooks recognized perfection entirely by sight, long before smothering it in handmade milk and pan-dripping gravy. There was no timer beeping at them, just the rich color of the crust and the unmistakable sound of the bubbling fat. Section 6. Why the menu vanished. So if the food was this chemically perfect, this efficiently engineered, and this brilliantly economical, why on earth did it disappear completely from our highways? Tracing this timeline, we can actually see exactly how the American palate radically shifted. In the 1960s, these scratch-made diners were at their absolute undeniable peak. But by the 1970s, honest proteins, things like liver and onions or organ meats, fell entirely out of favor. People just didn't want them anymore. And then, slowly and deliberately, we hit 1975. Frozen TV dinners skyrocketed to prominence, making those beautiful, time-intensive scratch meals suddenly feel institutional and kind of old-fashioned. The entire country traveled so far away from that zero-waste efficiency and honest cooking, replacing it entirely with the sterile, thoughtless convenience of the frozen aisle. I want to leave you with this thought to really ponder. When those worn-out, four-stool gas station counters finally closed their doors for good, we didn't just lose access to cheap meals. We lost a massive, elemental piece of American food science. We traded the raw, intuitive genius of cooks whose hands knew exactly what to do for things wrapped in plastic and heated up in microwaves. Thanks for tuning in to this explainer. I really hope this completely changes how you look at the history of American food, and I'll catch you next time.